and welcome to Walker Tea Review. We are here to look at a nice oolong. We're moving out of the season of a lot of green teas. A lot of them have been, many of them have been harvested, and they're on their way to us. Now we can start also keeping an eye on the oolong harvest. Some of those are starting to be the next wave that's going to be approaching. So we got an oolong today. This is from Alishan, which is one of the higher elevations of tea production. It's in Taiwan. You may think that Darjeeling, because it's proximity to like the Himalayas, may be higher, but some of your Taiwanese teas are highest grown teas in the world. This is an Alishan. This is a medium roast. So let's go ahead and get this one started. We've got our Gaiwan here, which is ideal, very useful for oolongs. We've got our water that's been brought to a boil, and it's been cooling probably 30 seconds, about now. It was brought to a boil, and then temperature's dropped a little since then. We're going to get out a teaspoon here, and that's full size spoon here that it would spill over pretty much. And that gives us a good coating on the bottom of our Gaiwan, as far as covering the bottom surface of the bowl here. These are balled or rolled, so they're going to expand quite a bit, and that's why we want to leave some space for that. So I'll set that aside and get our water poured now. Kind of swirl it around so that it really coats and covers. You don't have a dry spot on some of these leaves, which would cause them to float or stay at the top longer than they really need. Actually, I'm going to add just a drop, two more. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to, when I put the lid on, have a kind of a seal there, which gives a nice environment for steeping. Yeah, that gives us just a little bit sticking over the rim of the bowl here, or the lid, I should say. Now let's talk about this tea. This is from Norbu Teas, and we said this is their medium roast, Alishan. It is a winter harvest, winter of 08. How should I say? With oolong teas, having something that is not this year's tea, some tea purveyors actually look for previous years that have held or retained a lot of those flavors and characteristics with oolongs. Oolongs age, of course, better than, say, a green tea. So you can look for teas that have some age, depending on who the source, what company they are, and how those companies source their teas. So knowing about your tea company is very important, and knowing about how they select their teas is very important. As we mentioned, this winter 08, the tea can be found on Norbu's website, 50 grams for $10.13. I believe they're in a clearance phase right now, so they're getting low on stock, or they're making room for upcoming harvest to come in. So this one may not be around, depending on when you go and check online. You want to get there soon if you want to get it. Okay, let's go ahead and talk then about this dry leaf while we're waiting a little bit for this to steep a little longer. Being a medium roast, it still has some of the characteristics of the lighter roast, meaning it's going to have some of the floral or light vegetal type notes. And so with this, you are getting something that borders on a little bit of a kind of a cream spinach. Actually, just got a bit of a kind of a movie theater butter. It's got a bit of a creamy note to it. And there is still some kind of sweetness to it as well. I mean, that spinach or sweet pea, this type of sweet pea flour type smell, that's probably the dominant. Now, I'm actually getting a little bit of those kind of toasted notes. I mean, you're getting like a baked bread element. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, sweet pea flour, a little bit of kind of a baked bread, and again, I got a whiff, a brief, faint note of kind of a kind of like a buttery type movie theater artificial butter sprinkle type smell. Okay, so I'm too eager to put this away because we have not really looked at the leaves. Although there's not really a lot to comment, these are rolled in a traditional style. They're balled. So these are likely to be more than one leaf rolled together. You'll still see a little bit of the stem that connects the two and or more leaves with the bud there. So that's why they're rolled together. And you're getting colors that are deep green, dark green, favoring over slightly towards the brown. And again, that it makes you wonder. I would suspect that the brownish note comes from some of that roasting process, as to whether, as opposed to leaving it lightly roasted, you're going to get less of that browner, more of the kind of blue-green type colors to it. Let's get ready to give this one a pour. We got our cup here with our nice flower on that, but the inside you'll see is white, so it gives us a nice background for looking at the colors. And let's go ahead and give this a pour. Angle our lid over to the side a little bit, and away we go. Golden colors coming off of this. Not as light, not as bright yellow as a lighter oxidized, but kind of a golden honey, a bright looking beer type of yellowish color, yellowish with a light brown to it. Okay, you are getting some kind of warm type of bready type toasted notes, but again, they're subtle, they're very light. There's just not a lot of obvious, pronounced, distinguishable aroma coming off of this. Again, if it's anything, it's more, it's associated more with something like, I mean, it's got a bit of that bready. It's got a hint of a little bit of something, almost like a little bit of tomato in there, like a bit of ketchup kind of. I don't know where I got that ketchup note. Yeah, just very subdued, very subtle in its aroma as far as the wet leaf goes. Let me, I'll come back to that and see if I can't tease something else out of it. But let's look at our leaves while we do. We've got some nice full-size leaves here. There you go. Complete leaves intact. Fairly good actually elasticity to this. These feel like they're a little bit thicker. We've got a little, not too heavy, not too thick, but still have some thickness to them. Yesterday we looked at a Da Hong Pao, and I get the impression that this one is a little. These leaves do have are a bit thicker than, say, that Da Hong Pao from yesterday. Okay, here we go. Leaf, and a little bit of a bud there. 2 leaves in a bud type setup there. So that's looking good. Yes, there is something in this. Again, it's coming back out, especially now that it cools. There's a ketchup type smell. It's a little bit of vinegary, a little bit of tomato paste sweetness there, and I'm surprised. Okay, but moving on. Let's talk about this this liquor here. Again, we talked about that color. It's over towards the golden type color, gold brown. A little bit of sweetness coming off here. Again, something like a almost like a hyacinth. Okay. Okay, first off, you did get a first initial taste or feel. You were getting a bit of a sweetness. It was a kind of a caramel or almost a honey type note, sweet honeyed, closer to honey. Honeyed, if there is floral, it's very faint. It's light, and it is a tinge. Again, a drop of gardenia in honey. That kind of subtleness to it. As you swallow and as you the aftertaste, again, it's giving warm, kind of toasted. It feels like it's got some heat to it. It feels like it had been roasted. So you get those kind of roasted, faint, very faint roasted peanut type element. Okay. The aftertaste, you want to kind of smack your lips, because what's happening is it still kind of draws out. Okay, it gets a drying sensation on the tip of the tongue and towards the back of the mouth as well. So that drying is gradually converting into that kind of honey roasted peanut. Again, light on the peanut element, but stronger on the honey roasted part. So ever so sweet. Thickness of body it started off light. It's getting a little bit thicker, a little bit of a thicker feel in the mouth. And aftertaste, it's holding. It's not the most extended, and again, you kind of have to smack your mouth, smack your tongue to really draw out some of those aromas. So, it does have some nice qualities, some nice characteristics to it, but it takes a little. For me personally, it's taking a little more work to really draw those out and detect those. It's got some good character to it. It's not all floral in the front of your mouth. It's not biting into a bouquet of flowers. It is gentler, more subtler, and it really lives in the middle of the taste experience. It's not at the front in the initial sip. It's not in the swallow. It's really kind of in the middle. The aftertaste has to be, again, teased out. But let me give it one more try. Key center of this tea is really just after swallowing, or in the back of the mouth as the tea is going down. That's where you're getting the peak, the highlight of this tea. So it has some redeeming qualities. It has some aftertaste. It has some initial taste, but it's not really telling a continuous story throughout those three stages. That's why we give this tea probably, it's got some nice qualities. So I would give it a 91. This could be something to experiment. Some tea drinkers will put a tea in a porcelain or a clay, and it will draw, they believe, the atmosphere, and that clay will draw out or enhance certain aspects of a tea. This may be one that you could do something like that with and tease a little more extra element out of it. But again, this was Norbu's tea. This was their 08 Winter Alishan Medium Roast. Don't believe there's much left. If you want some, act now. Go out there and get it.